Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Let's have a little more fun with making collage abstracts. I've got my 9 by 12 inch watercolor paper. It's fairly firm, I like it. And this is one of my many inspiration art books. Most of these are just quick studies there. That one there is completely made by printed tissues, and I want to use it as inspiration for color. And I'm just looking through my stash now. And I've got this box. I actually cleaned it out last week, so this is organized now. I've got black ones, white ones on the right. This is my bag that's got from my last month, my printed paper prints. And you can see those in my playlist, and I will send you a link in my notes. I'm just looking for colors that are going to match the inspiration colors today, not all of the other ones. I've done an awful lot already in the last month of the beautiful reds and oranges there and all those blues. So today I'm going for the colors that are in my inspiration image that I showed at the beginning. This is also made from several videos I did on tissue papers. The blue ones that I'm pulling out were the most recent ones where I mentioned printing tissue paper without a gel plate. So that's what that video came from. All of these are in my playlist. If I forget them in the links, you'll find them in all my playlists. So I'm just, again, going through my stash. Here's another bag full of printed tissue papers that I made several months ago. And some of this, like that, was made from DIY stamps. So all of these videos are available for you to source and look at. I encourage you to watch all of them because they all have different results. This one was printing on tea bag paper, and I called it, I believe, wrapping paper. And that was just using tea bag paper with stamps and then splashing some paint over it for staining. So these are all really, really fun. They're all in my stash. Those are as well were from tea bag paper. But again, I'm just going through the box to see what colors are relevant to my inspiration page. And so I'm digging down because at the bottom here I have some solid bits of printed tissue. And again, I'm grabbing anything that's in the blue and green category. I'm not sure at this point if I'm going to use that amber there as my accent like the inspiration page had. That I'm going to wait and determine at the end. I might end up with the painting telling me at a much later point what the contrast or hit of color needs to be. This one is interesting textures, but the colors look dirty, and that's not what I'm going for today. So I'm putting the stash away, and I'm not going to use all of this today, but I've got it here. Again, these are all in the category. I'm not trying to copy that inspiration page. Number one, it's impossible because I made it from printed tissues, but I'm going for pieces and shapes right now. So the first layer that I glue down is going to primarily be just my underpainting with some shapes and patterns. And I'm just trying to grab ones that, the ones on the right there that have a bit of a pattern, I want them in my underlayer, and then later I can build things over top of that. So I'm just pulling out again things that are relevant. That one I'm holding right there with the colored dash lines. I'm putting it aside. I may or may not use it. This one was also a video I made on DIY stamps. So check that out because it's really easy with plastic corrugated board to make your own stamps. If I can show you inexpensive ways to do things, I will do it. So now this is the way I usually tear apart and isolate the images I want to use on a tissue paper print. I get a wet, clean paintbrush, clean water, and I paint around the perimeter. And then when you pull it away, it's very organic and easy to pull away, and you don't have straight cut scissor edges from the tissue paper or ridges, you know what I mean? So this makes it a very, very organic. When you glue that down to your piece with matte medium, the edges almost disappear. So I'm doing the same thing with this one. This was a more recent video on painting with printing tissue without a gel plate. So there's an awful lot in today's video. There are a lot of reference to videos that you can find in my playlist. They're all there. So I'm just doing another one. This was made from an interesting stencil mask, and I no longer know the name of it. I know I bought it on joggles.com, and I just can't remember. Couldn't find it when I was looking for it again. Use whatever stencil prints that you have. This one is tea bag paper, so I can't tear it with the paintbrush or water technique. I have to pull it apart, and as you can see, it's quite hard to pull apart. But I'm trying to get random jagged edges and interesting odd shapes so that I can start to build somewhat the beginnings of a collage. So again, I'm just trying to make it interesting. There's more of the tea bag paper. It's very soft, but it's very strong. That's why I like making those, using that for wrapping paper. So here I've got narrowed down to the stash that I'm happy with. Not sure I'll use all of these or not. Putting them all to the side. Again, I work intuitively. I could have a stash right there and say I'm going to use them all. By the time I start painting them down, just the motion of getting the matte medium out and painting them down, even then I grab them differently, I put them down differently. I do at this stage, everything is completely, absolutely, completely random and spur of the moment and instinctive. So I'm not overthinking. I'm just tearing it into different shapes. I don't want them all to be triangular. That would make it boring. So I'm just, again, trying to find some shapes. So I'm trying to find ones right now that have a subtle background print and pattern for interest at the background of the page. And then I'm just trying to see how I want to layer them. So these are fairly subtle. I like that. That's really subtle too. And then just random bits of more solid colors in a transparent tissue as well. So this is just the first stage. I'm just showing you different options. Again, by the time I go and glue them down, they might shift a little bit in their placement. But I go with everything that happens, because quite often if I've changed and shifted it, it's always ended up working out for the better. Now watch when I overlap, not these two, but when I overlap the other tissues, when they overlap with those shapes, you can see new shapes as well, just from the overlapping. That's a lot of fun already. See that? Those areas there are overlapping of tissues over the tea bag paper, and they created new shapes in themselves. And I'm just scraping away. I like that random jagged edge on the left. And I like asymmetry. I don't like left and right to be the same. And that, when I glued that down, it pulled the tissue. So I'm just trying to get that back in place before it dries and flatten it down again. The tissue paper's very delicate. The tea bag paper was not. And I'm just smoothing it down with my finger softly to keep the tissue paper flat. Now I'm getting this is going to be the second layer of collage now. And again, I'm just trying to rip apart random edges. I don't like clean cut edges. So I am overlapping in the middle. There's some of that lovely pattern, but that's okay. There's a lot of black in those bubbles anyway, so I don't mind burying it. But I do not want to bury too much of that basket weave, because that is just my favorite stencil. I really wish I could find the source of it, the name of it. The source is Joggles, and there was one on there that looked like that, but a little smaller. Just see what you can do to find it. I've also purchased lots of large 9x12 stencils in Stencil Girl. They've got some amazing stencils. So between stencilgirl.com and joggles.com, most of my stencils have come from that source. So I'm just playing around now with another layer with these shapes. They're very obvious shapes. Now it is semi-transparent, so it hints at the basket weave below. And I'm really trying to decide the fun with doing prints on tissue paper is you can do just what I just did there. You can hover it over your painting and move it around without making it a done deal. If you were to paint that on your painting, it's a mess to take it off if you don't like it. Now that I look at that one that I isolated before, it didn't work, so I put it away. I could start off with an idea, but if it tells me it's not working, I go with my instinct and I remove it from my supply. I'm really liking what's happening here, all the different shapes, the asymmetry of it, all 4 quadrants are different. It's starting to become something, but right now I'm still at the playing stage because until the story starts to be obvious to me, I'm just making patterns and balance, and I'm trying to look for a balance in shapes. I want some small, I like the shapes to be varied. I don't want, if I've got the bigger areas there in the background that have a busy pattern, then I want the other shapes to be doing something differently. Here's another tissue I brought out, but even though it matches my inspiration, it's not working right now. And I've already got busy patterns in the background already that I circled, so I'm not going to use those papers. Just going to put those aside for now. Now this isn't dried, so before it dries completely, I decided to take apart some of the print there on the far right because it was sticking out too far to the right and it was too dark. It didn't work with the rest of my layout, and so I just wanted to remove them. I destroyed the paper slightly, so I'm putting some heavy white paint over it and spreading it softly with my finger to kind of mask over that area that I kind of disturbed the pattern of the paper. Just trying to clean things up a bit. So I'm really glad I tore away that far right row of boxes because I didn't like it. So already now I'm loving everything about the page, but I don't like this cording stencil that I put down. So before it dries, I'm trying to pull that back. I've sped this up a bit. Now, it didn't pull completely on the far right, and I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to worry about that, but the rest of it I'm trying to remove. It just, I don't know, once I put those green shapes over top, it didn't make sense anymore. I've already got a busy pattern in the background, like my inspiration, even though it's different. I'm just not sure yet if I'm going to use any orange. Usually I worry about my pop of color almost at the very end. So what I'm trying to do is see, like my inspiration, if I can add a little bit more white over the top of the blue and green printed areas to sort of give more of a subdued effect like my inspiration. Before I do that though, I want to, I like these shapes I glued down with the green tissue paper, but I want it to be a brighter, more opaque green. So what I've got is the green gold in that tube. I've got my green gold mixed with fluid white, and that's how I got this pale green. And I like using it because number one, it's a bright, fun, cheery pale green, but also it's because of the fluid white in there, it's quite opaque. So I'm just trying to go with the shape that I glued down because I like it, but I'm trying to just, because the far right printed green is a bright pale green, I'm trying to balance over to the left side of the page with that same green, but unlike being a print, it's a shape. So I'm doing one layer with it to see how that works. And as it dries, I'll decide if I need to top it up with more. So I'm starting with the heavy dose of it on the top half of this box. And you can see there that I'm fanning it out towards the bottom half so that it disappears. I don't want the whole thing. I like to shift a little bit in the pattern of the paint on it. So I like that. I find that is much more interesting than painting the whole thing over in that green. As it was drying, I realized it was drying a little dirty looking, so I put another coat over top because I really want to keep this bright and happy and cheerful. And on that one side of it, I did carry the green down, but on the right side, I didn't. I like to play with, like right now at this point, a lot of the work is done. I've got the shapes I need as my story starting to develop, but I'm still trying to decide, do I want the orange? Do I even want the black? Like, I don't know yet. And I like what's happening as far as balance of shapes, colors, all of that. And again, that's where I'm trying to decide, do I want to subdue that? Part of me says, no, I kind of like what's happening already. And then I thought I could subdue it in this way. I love doing this where I've got a wavy pattern with a very big wavy transparent area. And when you glue that down, all that transparent wave picks up the background texture. So now I've got, what I did with some of my orange tissue, I cut it out into strips because I'm toying with the idea of using that still as an accent, but very subtly. And before I do anything about it, I'm just using the tissue to give me an idea if that's a yes or a no. And same with the black. Do I want it? I'm not so sure. I like this because it follows the pattern of some of the check marks in the basket weave, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to wait and see. Again, I like what's happening, but I didn't see a story. As soon as I turned it around, voila, I see a story. That's how the magic sometimes happens. All you have to do is rotate and you see it differently. Now I have completely new eyes and I don't want to do that other idea. And I've got this wavy pattern that I absolutely love. See how it picks up the colors below in all those transparent waves? That's going to be very bold once I glue this down. Because once I glue this white tissue paper down, all the white paper that's not printed with white is going to become transparent and clear. And it's going to reveal everything below. So I'm very, very happy with this orientation and with this print that I'm going to glue down. I don't know that I want to cover up a lot of that basket weave. So let's rotate it and see what happens there. And now you can see the basket weave picking up in that clear wave. And up in the top right, look at how that wave just joins up there and becomes an interesting shape. That just was magically happening. Those are the little happy things that happen along the way that I love. And I'm going to go with that shape. I'm going to encourage it to pick up that shape. So here you can see the basket weave is subtly showing up within all those clear areas. And I just have to decide, is that going to be enough? So what I want to do in this case is not tear. Because I want to really make that wavy line obvious, I'm going to use scissors to make an obvious line. Now I'm actually purposefully using the tissue rather than just randomly slapping it down. I'm at this point, I know the direction I'm going and I'm going with those thoughts. So I love that. I'm just crazy in love with what's happening here. And that all happened from me turning the page upside down. I love the rhythm, the pattern, the movement. It almost looks like a great big sailboat on waves. That big sail on the left is the green sail and the back is the blue sail. Who knows? That's just what I see right now. So I'm just cleaning up that top wavy line because I want it to be very obvious so that when I glue that down, I've got a nice strong white wavy line and no tissue paper beyond that. And then I'm lining that up where my top right finger is so that I get that shape there. This is a lot of fun. I'm just trying to decide on the left how much of those blue patches to cover. So let's get this down. The reason why, even though it's a tissue paper, I'm putting a lot of matte medium down because there's a lot of white paint on that tissue paper. And whenever that happens, I find I need more matte medium to glue it down. So I'm holding it firm in the top right where that pattern needs to go, and then I'm just flattening it out with my hands. Now, I don't really recommend using a scraper like that because it can shift the sensitive tissue paper. So I'm just using a flat brush to press it down as I spread outwards from the middle in all directions. Look at how the tissue paper starts to become clear in all those transparent areas, and it really shows the painting below. Look at that. I'm very pleased with that. And I like how it's disappearing into subtle white on the bottom left corner, which is different than the bottom right side. I love that. Absolutely love it. It still reminds me of a big sailboat on the water. Now when I flip it upside down, that doesn't even make sense. This is what makes sense to me. So this is very dry, and I actually left it 24 hours. I wanted to decide where I wanted to go with it, and I don't want to ruin what I've already got and overdo it. And the trick I use is I take this and I set it on the back wall of my TV room, shown in the picture above here. And that allows me time to look at it at a glance during the day and see what it wants to be. And all of a sudden, when I looked at it from a distance, I saw it as an urban landscape. And I didn't intend on doing a landscape, but I saw it as an urban landscape that from the distance, this looked like a big building, this looked like a building in the background in shade, and then clumps of trees and things like that here. And then it's like a river running through town. And that's just what I saw, and now I can't unsee it. That's what I see. And so I don't know if I'm going to call it an urban landscape. I'm just going to call it my abstract, but it is what it is. That's what I see. You might see something completely different. So I'm going to leave it as it is for layout and balance of shapes. I just want to enhance a few things. And one of the things is, and I decided I didn't want to put any black tissue prints over as a bold contrast like my inspiration painting had a hit of black. I decided that this darker bit here will be my contrast, even though it's in the same family as these. That's fairly dark and a little bit more in the direction of teal versus these. So I thought that's what I'm going to use as my contrast, and I'm going to bring that out perhaps in some manner in a bit. But first I want to go over this white area here. So I've got a very fine brush and some fluid white. And I just want to, I don't want to do it everywhere, but I want to make this stand out darker white and cover this area here. So I'm going to put some of this down, especially over here, and spread that around a little bit to make this a little bit more opaque. Because I've got all this white here, I've got it over here going in a different way. I'm just making it a little stronger and really strong, and I'm disappearing into nothingness here. I don't want to touch that. I just want to fix this up. Grab a little there and make it a little bit more dense. And hopefully that'll bring that to the foreground. You know by now, I like to play with depth and illusions of depth. And so at this stage of my paintings, I'm always thinking about what to go into the background and what to bring into the foreground. So that's what I'm doing here. I'll speed this up for you. And now I'm using my finger just to flatten that out and smooth it out and disappear into the paper. So that gives a cleaner line. It shoots that into the background, but brings attention to it. And I just like the weight of that. I'm probably, when it dries, I might do that with this part of the white as well. Or I might decide that I quite like it more in the background and that this one's more foreground. And that's the fun I have at this stage. Actually, to bring the eye down into here, I'm going to do it in this one section here. That's what my instinct tells me to do. And to follow this wonky shape from my stencil that I used to make this tissue print. So this was one of my white tissue prints. I'm going to make a bunch more. The reason why I do so much tissue printing in plain white is because when I glue it over top of a piece of work like I did here, I can turn around later and glaze it if I want. And that gives me way more versatility than using a printed colored tissue print over top where it is what it is. So now I'm going to smush that. Again, blend that into this page. Now that really makes this really strong. So I've got this shooting up over here, and now I've got that shooting a little bit off, not off the page, but off. And I like that. I'm not going to touch this. I like that this disappears into the background. In fact, what I'm going to do, especially there it's dirty, is just put a little bit of this white and just smudge it. Oops. Just smudge it a bit to make this even disappear a little bit more. Help it along a little bit so that all this bottom stuff just slowly fades away. I like that. And it cleaned it up a little bit there. I mean, if I was going to mat this, some of this is going to get hidden anyway, but depending on the mat and frame you have, I want some of this to work with it. So that's my answer to that, and I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to work on a few other enhancements. Again, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to enhance, because I also see a fabulous triangle here. And what I want to do is this beautiful blue and this triangle and maybe a hit of it over here will be my brighter blue. And I always like to do things in 3, even though it spreads down here. I'm just going to have 1, 2, and possibly a 3rd area over here to balance that. Just like I want to balance this darker teal, I might have it go right into the behind here, and then I might have it come out over here, and that might be all I need is that little hit. Maybe all I need is to fill in a dot, but we'll get there when we get there. That's still wet, so I'm going to leave that dry and try not to touch it. What I want to do, I've got this color here, which looks really close to this, but I want it a little bit transparent looking like that, so I will add water to it. What I want to do is, I don't want to touch that, but I want to enhance this triangle that's in the background and perhaps put a little bit of that blue, which is also down here, over onto this one little wave. I don't want to do all of this. I want to just see what doing one little spot. That's pretty good. I want to make sure it's quite transparent. So let's see what it's like over top of writing. Yeah, hopefully that will work. If it's too dark, I can sponge it back. So I'm going to just turn this so I don't touch that white and bring out a little bit. I'm going to use the smaller brush. I just want to spread it around. I put very little down so that I can keep the transparency of it. So as I said, it's very watery. I'm going to go right up over here to, no, actually no, I'm just going to follow what was there because that's what inspired me to do this. I don't want to rearrange things right now. So let's go down here. I'm even going to fill in that like that, just to add interest around the page. And to bring the triangle over, I'm going to do this part here. So that this is my shape, maybe that bit right there. I'm going to go down here and here and stop it at the white. So that it follows the theme of everything disappearing into fog. And I'm going to do this. I like how it'll shoot off the page over here. I'm keeping it very thin and light because I want it to be not that dark. I want it to be lighter like these are. So this looks light because there's tissue paper that's masking some of it to make it look more light. So I'm trying to imitate that by keeping this very soft. And I'm letting it come to a point right there. I don't want it to join that white one, because what I'm finding already is there's a lot of busyness in the background, and I want these wave stripes to sit forward. So I don't want to overdo all of this where it ends up blending and it gets mixed up. Get off of there, you. So again, bit by bit to see what happens. Maybe what I'll do is just bring out this, because I like to bring out shapes that I see at the end. Usually it's ovals, but in this case it's a rectangle. And just this little bit right here. And then I'm going to use this darker paint to just enhance that a bit more on this end to make sense of those. And I may as well fan that out. Oops, I went a bit over. So I'll just join that. There we go. So now I've got a little bit of a line and two other, and that's 1, 2, 3. I kind of like to do things in threes. So I've got the eye up here, over to here, over to here. So it's in that color, at least it's flowing across the page in 3 spots. I don't know now if I want to touch that and do anything over there, because then I'm starting to overcomplicate things. I would rather actually, now that I think about it, I'd rather have this be my strong contrast, my bright hit of color. Even though this is really bright, this is really a beautiful blue. So I want that to be, when you first look at this, I want this, this, and this to hit the eye. And in that case, I might even brighten up a little bit down here. Just a little bit. I don't want it to look dirty, and right now it looks dirty, where this blue tissue went over top of the green. So I'm just going to use a little bit more blue to brighten this up, just a little. And then have it disappear so that it fades out over there. There. 1, 2, 3. I might even subdue that a little bit with this green to make it less wide and have that just a very hairline line going through there. So yeah, at first I thought I would do that, maybe put a hit over here, a hit over here. I don't want to. I think the balance is coming out beautifully. I hope you agree. And if I have to, when it dries, I will do more of this because it's so beautiful. That is just such a truly beautiful blue. I thought originally I might carry this line over here a little. But then if I do, it's going to interfere with that. So maybe what I'll do is try that, borrow a bit of that color. And a little bit of the white. Going for a lighter color here, and that might work. Let's test that out. So let's see if I just want to have this, you know what, I think what I'll do is I'll have it come up here and make this a circle that comes out. You think that'd be funny? Maybe not. I'm a little nervous about that. Let's just see. I can always wipe it back if I don't like it. Let's just do the wave line first. Maybe have it cover up this darker. Maybe even disappear a little in this one so that it's all behind this white wave. That's enough. That it implies that this is coming up, it's going behind, it's going above, it's going underneath. It's almost becoming a basket. This wave is becoming part of this basket weave and going underneath some of the white. And I don't want to overdo it. In fact, I might even just dab that a bit, make that more faded. And that's kind of fun. And then it interweaves with this white. And at the end, I might decide to bring out the white with these two waves right there. But we'll see, because part of what I like is that there's a lot of business here. There's a lot of impact here. There's impact here just because of these waves, but there's a lot of blank space. Here, there's a lot of white space. The pattern is very busy here, but it's very subdued. So I'm thinking in my mind that kind of balances this. So all 4 quadrants are completely different, which I really like. And you know what? Other than dealing with this a little bit, which I'm going to do with this green, I think I'm close to being done. I'm going to leave it opaque because I want to cover some of this, and I need to do that by keeping it opaque. So let's see what happens. I'm just trying to minimize and do it randomly. I don't want to completely cover these circles from the print. Again, I'm just trying to minimize that a little bit. And then have it kind of just disappear. Kind of like that better. And with this being opaque and very bright and heavy, I carry over some of that color over here. I've got 1, 2 patches. I could put a third, but again, I want the number 3 to be this blue. And then the rest kind of just becomes part of the scene, but this is the hero of the scene, is this blue. And now that I've got that starting to dry, I want to do more of that blue. And this is still wet, so I'm going to turn this upside down. And I just want to, oops, careful. I just want to, again, make a bigger impact of this blue. Because as it dries, the water evaporates, and you can tell there's not a lot of blue in there. I don't want to come up here. I'm just bringing it towards this bottom area of it a bit. And then I want to put more in here. It's such a beautiful color. These colors together make me so happy. That's probably going to dry just about as light as it was. I might actually make it a little more opaque. Just go right from the bottle and make it even stronger down here. But fan it out. I still want to expose some of the pattern below there. And then put a little more in here because it's more opaque now, and that's really going to stand out. I want it to stand out brighter than this dark olive green that's behind there. Olive green isn't my favorite color, but when you have a nice, beautiful, bright blue against it like this, helps to make it seem a little bit brighter as well. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm not touching that because it was already very bright. And I'm going to keep it fairly heavy here, but let it disappear there. So I quite like how fun that is. I don't know that I want to change it, other than just a little hit. I just want to cover that. There's a dark spot right there. Oops, that was just water. Now I just want to put this down and cover up a spot that was kind of dark and dirty looking right there and there. I know originally I thought, well, you know what? I won't touch this white one, but because this wave comes over here and we need just a little hit of something and I have a dark spot to cover up, I'm just going to continue this white right there, and then I'm going to call it a day. So I want to make sure my brush is nice and clean. I'm going to put a little bit, so it's this one here. That's going to join that one. So I'm just following the wave line that was already there from the tissue print. Oh, there was water on the top of my brush there, so I had to dab that back. I want this to be heavy white, not watered down white. So let's bring that forward. There's a few bubbles there. I need to push them along. And I'm just following where this white stripe joins this wave. And I don't want to cover up what was below there. And then continue on with the white. I'll borrow some of that white there, put it down here. And I think that's all it needed. So it's popping forward above these, but it's not confusing and making this overly busy. It's just enhancing this white line in the foreground. I'm just flattening it a bit. I like it. Not sure that I love that part right there. I kind of like that this blue is off here. I'm wondering if I can use a wet wipe, which has rubbing alcohol in it, and see if I can lift some of this blue. I don't want to touch this, so what I'm going to do is put a paper down for now so I don't touch it. And I just want to see if I can wipe some of that back. Make it a little more distressed to match the distress below there. And it's working. And then I just want to let it become dark right there. So that worked. I like that. I think that's, I hope you agree. It kind of blends in now with that without shouting, and these pop. Now I can say I'm finished. I'm very, very happy with it. Not sure what I would call it. I'd be curious to know in the comments below what you think you see. I'm always curious because everybody sees something different than I do. Oh, I don't like that green right there. Let's get rid of that before it dries. So there you have it. Here it is. Please tell me what you see in it. I'm very, very curious. And what you think about the fact that I totally rotated my image 180 and then I saw this scene. That's the fascination of abstracts like this, is the sky's the limit. Everybody can see things differently. Anyway, there you have it. Thank you for joining me and have a great day. Please like and subscribe. It helps my channel to reach more people like you. And I love doing this painting for my soul, and I hope you get into a habit of doing it too, because you deserve it. Have a good day. Bye-bye.